Can you imagine that? Behind the door of a tiny boarding room, less than 108 square feet, there lay a grisly crime scene, where dried blood clung to every crevice of the tiles, and the perpetrator had vanished silently as if they had never existed. In this video, we're going to lift the veil on a case that shook the Vietnamese community in Hong Kong. It's a thrilling investigation where the perpetrator managed to slip away before anyone even suspected. Who was this person? Why did they commit such a brutal act? And how could someone familiar become a harbinger of death in the shadows? If you're ready, let's dive into today's story. But first, take just 30 seconds. Leave a like or share if you think this story deserves to be heard, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the upcoming gripping cases. On the past Saturday night, the 21st of June 2025, the emergency line at the Hong Kong Police Department received a distress call. A woman reported that her 9-year-old sister, of Vietnamese descent, had left her apartment in the Prince Edward area of Mong Kok that morning and hadn't returned by evening. Fearing the worst, the family reported her missing. At first, the police treated it as a routine missing person case. Since the victim was an adult, she might have simply been out of touch temporarily. Yet, their professional instincts wouldn't allow them to ignore it. According to her relatives, she was a responsible mother who always returned home on time to care for her young child. This sudden disappearance was completely out of character. The following morning, the West Kowloon Police Unit began scouring the places the victim frequented. They visited restaurants and shops around Prince Edward, inquired with locals, and checked traffic cameras and CCTV along her usual route to work. By the 23rd of June, 2 days after the report, investigators began noticing anomalies. From the surveillance footage, they discovered the woman boarded a bus with a man on the morning of the 21st of June. This trail led them away from familiar Prince Edward streets as they followed the mysterious path of the victim. By the end of the 23rd of June, the police had extracted a series of security videos and pieced together her route. The woman and the man, a foreign national, took a bus to Castle Peak Road, Cheung Sha Wan. A store camera near 152 Castle Peak Road recorded them entering an old apartment building around noon. Strangely, there was no footage of them leaving. Later, the camera captured the man exiting alone, carrying enormous black plastic bags that appeared heavily laden. The man was seen coming and going repeatedly, each time with a large bag, disappearing around a dark alley corner. Sharp instincts sent chills down the investigators' spines, fearing that these unusually large trash bags could be the key to solving the woman's disappearance. A murder scenario gradually formed in their minds. Realizing the severity, the police upgraded the case to a criminal investigation. Late on the 24th of June, the West Kowloon Major Crimes Unit requested an emergency search warrant for the boarding room where the victim was last seen. The night shift officer recalled that as soon as the report about the mysterious black bags came in, the atmosphere at the station grew tense. Everyone understood they were about to confront a horrifying scene. The boarding room was on the 3rd floor of 152 Castle Peak Road, Cheung Sha Wan, an old-style apartment building without an elevator. Below it was a small shop. The room was a short-term rental, less than 108 square feet, sparsely furnished with a foldable bed and a few basic household items. When the police broke in on the night of the 24th of June, the room was empty. Yet, streaks of reddish-brown splattered across the walls and floor sent shivers down the spines of every investigator present. They quickly recognized it as blood spatter, turning the scene into what looked like an abandoned slaughter room. Although the victim's body was not found, the evidence was chillingly clear. A cold-blooded crime had just occurred here. The police meticulously recorded important clues. First were the bloodstains on the walls, ceiling, and floor. Based on their shape and location, forensic experts concluded the victim had been violently attacked, with blood splattering high up on the walls. Second, the sharp smell of bleach hit the investigators as they entered. This indicated the suspect had deliberately cleaned the scene. Sure enough, in the corner of the bathroom, police seized a bottle of Javel bleach and a bottle of cleaning solution still in use. Most crucially, under the bed, they found a wooden knife handle snapped in two. The blade was gone. The blood-stained handle likely belonged to a cleaver, a large kitchen knife commonly used for chopping meat. Additionally, the scene contained a few strands of fabric and fragments of black plastic scattered about, resembling the material of oversized garbage bags. Each horrifying detail combined to paint a picture of a grisly crime. Someone had murdered the woman here, dismembered the body, and used bleach to clean the scene. They placed the body parts into large black trash bags and quietly transported them away. The investigators' first impression of the scene was chilling. The small room reeked of blood and cleaning chemicals, with little sign of struggle, likely because the victim was caught by surprise or subdued quickly. However, the amount of scattered blood suggested severe wounds or multiple lethal strikes. No identification or phone was found in the room, likely taken by the perpetrator. The scene contained only a few personal items: a woman's jacket draped over a chair and a handbag fallen to the floor. Inside the empty bag, everything was messy yet deliberate, giving investigators the impression that the criminal had planned meticulously. They had rented this room temporarily to commit the crime, prepared the knife and cleaning agents, then cleaned up and left immediately. Yet, the motive and identity of the suspect remained a mystery. A crime scene officer shared it felt like entering a haunted room where the victim had vanished. The perpetrator disappeared, leaving only deadly traces. According to family information, the victim was Liang Zixin, 49, affectionately called Lisa by friends, born in 1976 inches Quang Tri, Vietnam, a poor rural area that endured many losses after the war. In 1989, at age 13, her family left Vietnam for Hong Kong. Liang Zixin grew up there, fluent in Cantonese, with a Hong Kong ID card. Over 36 years in a foreign land, she worked tirelessly to support her small family. In her personal life, she had been married to a Vietnamese man in Hong Kong, with 2 children, and one 8-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. However, the marriage had ended a few years prior. She became a single mother, raising her 2 children and Prince Edward, Mong Kok. Despite hardships, she was described as a devoted mother, wholeheartedly caring for her children and family. To neighbors, she was friendly and helpful. To her children, strict yet full of love. Her 2-year-old daughter once proudly said her mother always taught her to help others. Her sister added that Liang Zixin was dating a new boyfriend named Guang, a construction worker from Hong Kong, who had a 3-year-old daughter. They planned to build a long-term life together, merging the 5-person household, Lisa, her boyfriend, and the children, and rented a shared apartment in Prince Edward. Within the Vietnamese community in Hong Kong, Liang Zixin was highly respected. She actively participated in community activities and helped newcomers integrate into life in the city. Friends described her as friendly, honest, and without conflicts. So, when news broke of her disappearance and possible murder, everyone was shocked and heartbroken. On the 26th of June, her elderly parents and relatives brought her photo to the boarding room to light incense and pray. The sight of the silver-haired couple clutching their daughter's picture, wailing in the unfamiliar street, moved many witnesses to tears. How could someone so gentle and kind have earned the enmity to meet such a tragic fate? Forensic work continued through the night from the 24th of June to 25, right in the boarding room. The forensic team used ultraviolet lights to scan for traces of cleaned blood. They discovered numerous tiny blood spots in the floor tiles crevices and along the baseboards, indicating the perpetrator had mopped the floor but missed some gaps. These blood traces were subsequently tested and confirmed to match the victim's blood type. Fingerprints collected from the bleach bottle and the broken knife handle were also analyzed. The results showed that the knife handle bore both the victim's fingerprints and an unknown set of prints, whose owner could not yet be identified. The police immediately entered the unknown fingerprint into Hong Kong's criminal database to check for matches, but it returned no results. Simultaneously, they reviewed CCTV footage from the bus route the victim had taken. Luckily, the bus's security camera clearly captured the victim boarding with a man at 9:50 a.m. on the 21st of June. The footage showed a tall, slender man wearing a mask that covered his face but left his eyes and forehead visible. From this clip, police captured a relatively clear still of the suspect's face when he briefly lowered his mask to drink water. This image was then cross-referenced with the Immigration Department's facial recognition system to identify any foreign nationals previously recorded entering Hong Kong. At the same time, police went door-to-door in 152 Castle Peak Road to interview residents. Most tenants were migrant workers with language barriers, but through a Vietnamese interpreter, investigators obtained a key detail. Several reported hearing a heated argument in Vietnamese coming from the suspect room around noon on the 21st of June. Later, in the early afternoon, they heard faint, loud noises and objects falling, then silence. In an old, noisy building, no one paid much attention. Some even mentioned detecting a foul metallic smell, like blood, near the room late at night, but since the door was locked, they assumed someone was cooking poultry. Though these statements weren't highly specific, They aligned with the estimated time of the murder, giving police confidence in their assumptions. Furthermore, from the landlord and agent, police confirmed the room had been rented by a Vietnamese man starting the 20th of June on a short-term, daily contract. The tenant gave the name An Gia and provided no other identification. The landlord reported that he had paid a week in advance. This further suggested the suspect had planned the crime and rented the room solely to commit it before leaving. After profiling the individual, police focused entirely on Nia. They checked immigration records and found a Nguyen Minh Gia who had applied for asylum around 2022. He was among more than 15,000 foreigners awaiting asylum approval in Hong Kong. A significant number, highlighting the post-pandemic surge in undocumented immigration. These individuals were issued temporary permits, or recognizance papers, preventing immediate deportation but barring legal employment. They survived on meager support, roughly HK $40 a day. So many resorted to under-the-table or even illegal work to survive. The fact that he crossed the border undetected and comfortably filed an asylum claim raised questions about security gaps. However, that was an immigration matter. For the Hong Kong criminal police, the priority was clear. The suspect to hunt was Nguyen Minh Nia, 34. According to the victim's friend, Nia hailed from Luc Nam County, BAC Giang Province. Back in Vietnam, he worked freelance with an unstable income. Ngia's family background in his hometown was relatively modest. His parents were farmers, and he had 3 siblings. Notably, Ngia's record was marred with trouble. In 2019, he was involved in a local brawl that led to the death of a young man, prompting Vietnamese authorities to investigate him for homicide. Prior to that, he had a gambling problem, was linked to illegal lending, and had once fled the area for several months due to debts. In 2020, aware that authorities were closing in, Nia fled to China via a border trail in Quang Ninh Province. He hid within the Vietnamese community there and later paid a human smuggling network to reach Hong Kong by illegal boat around 2022. His journey mirrored that of thousands of other Vietnamese seeking a life in the city, willing to cross borders illegally and apply for asylum in hopes of finding work. To Hong Kong authorities, Ngia was just one of over 15,000 people awaiting asylum approval, allowed only a temporary recognizance paper renewed every 2 weeks and barred from legal employment. Without lawful work, Ngia wandered the golden triangle of Sham Shui Po, Yau Ma Te, Mong Kok, taking on various under-the-table jobs to survive. From construction laborer to washing dishes at pho shops, and even participating in illegal soccer betting, he had occasionally gotten into fights with fellow Vietnamese over work territory. This unstable lifestyle, combined with a violent record, made Nia a ticking time bomb within the Vietnamese community. Some acquaintances described him as rough, quick-tempered, and prone to boasting about his exploits back in Vietnam. He preferred to be called An Nia, had an eagle tattoo on his bicep, and considered himself a local tough guy. Notably, his connection to the victim, Luong Zi Tam, appeared rooted in her kindness. Friends said Zi Tam had let Nia stay with her for a few days when he first arrived in Hong Kong, even helping him find dishwashing work at a familiar restaurant. However, Ngia's violent nature prevented him from keeping jobs for long. Rumors circulated that he exploited Lisa's generosity to borrow money and then skipped out on repayment. Before the crime, some mutual acquaintances heard Lisa complaining about being threatened by a fellow Vietnamese over financial matters. She did not specify a name, but everyone could guess it was Ngia. Around early June 2025, he reportedly got drunk, went to the pho shop, and loudly demanded money, frightening her enough to avoid him. If there indeed was debt between them, this could have been the direct motive driving Nia to commit such a violent act against his benefactor. From a psychological perspective, analyzing his history and criminal behavior, experts assessed Nguyen Minh Gia as a cold-blooded, highly reckless offender. Having previously taken a life in Vietnam and escaped, he likely carried a disregard for the law into Hong Kong, believing he could commit crimes and flee. His preparation of a cleaver and bleach showed terrifying premeditation, as he was ready to dismember the victim to erase evidence actions that few amateur criminals would dare attempt. During the investigation, police also considered whether there were accomplices or other suspects beyond Nang Gia. Initially, they hypothesized someone might have helped him transport the body, but surveillance footage showed him alone, carrying the black trash bags himself. The victim's family also suspected no one else. Her current boyfriend had a solid alibi, working on a construction site all day. Other social contacts were clean, narrowing the suspect pool entirely to Ngia. However, A surprise emerged when police spotted a young woman near Nghia in several cameras after the 21st of June. This suggested he might have had a female accomplice to help cover his tracks. Indeed, investigation revealed the role of VT Lu, 25, Nghia's girlfriend, also a Vietnamese asylum seeker in Hong Kong. Lu was not directly involved in the crime against Lisa, but was believed to have assisted Nghia in escaping. So beyond Nghia's own crime, police also investigated the secondary role of his girlfriend in aiding the suspect. Concluding that he had fled, Hong Kong police issued a citywide manhunt. They circulated his photo and details to all local police units and increased checks at airports, ferry terminals, and border crossings. However, Nghia seemed to be a step ahead. He hadn't purchased any plane or high-speed train tickets out of Hong Kong. After several days of checking airports and ferry terminals with no leads, police suspected he had escaped by sea to Shenzhen or Guangdong, China, before possibly returning to Vietnam. Hong Kong immediately activated a series of international police collaborations. They sent requests for assistance to the Ministry of Public Security of China and the Vietnamese police. Additionally, they provided information so mainland China could track Nghia if he was still on land. Knowing Nghia had a criminal record in Vietnam, Hong Kong police also hoped Vietnamese authorities would actively pursue him if he fled there. This multinational coordination demonstrated the authorities' determination to ensure the culprit did not escape justice. In Hong Kong, police focused on a second line of investigation, capturing Vai Thi Lu, Nghaia's girlfriend who had assisted him. Using phone tracking and questioning acquaintances, they determined Lu was hiding in a boarding house in Sham Shui Po. On the night of the 25th of June, special forces raided the location and apprehended her. At the investigation office, Lu tremblingly admitted that she knew Nghia was involved in the incident and had helped him move between locations several times after the 21st of June, eventually renting a boat for him to escape to the sea on the night of the 23rd of June. Lu also stated that on the morning of the 23rd of June, she went to the shoreline with Nghia. He then took a bag aboard the boat. She explained her actions were motivated by love and fear, helping him because she loved him, yet fearing he might harm her if she refused. This testimony helped police piece together Nghaia's escape route. Authorities also seized several items from Lu, including Nghaia's phone, containing messages instructing her to erase all traces, and a postcard with contact information for someone at the Vietnam-China border. All of this evidence was added to the case file, strengthening the prosecution's position on related charges. Nghaia's ability to drag his girlfriend into the escape plan demonstrated his cold manipulation and exploitation of others. With all these facts, the suspect emerged as brutal and cunning, showing no remorse or hesitation in committing crimes. Police assessed him as extremely dangerous to society, needing urgent capture before he could commit further offenses anywhere. As of now, Nguyen Minh Nghia has not been captured, so no trial has occurred in Hong Kong. However, legal proceedings began with his accomplice, Vai Thi Lu, 25, Nghaia's girlfriend. She was charged with assisting a criminal in escaping. On the 27th of June 2025, Lu was brought to Kowloon City Magistrates Court to hear the charges. In the brief court session, the prosecutor read the indictment, asserting that Vietnamese national Vai Thi Lu had attempted to help Nguyen Minh Nghia escape Hong Kong by boat on the 23rd of June, while knowing he had committed murder or other serious crimes. Lu stood at the dock, her face stunned. The defendant did not request bail, likely knowing it would be denied due to lack of a fixed residence and flight risk. The judge also refused bail, ordering Lu held until the next preliminary hearing, scheduled for August 2025. In court, she said nothing beyond quietly acknowledging the indictment. According to a lawyer's source, she indicated willingness to cooperate with the investigation and could become a witness if Nguyen Minh Nghia is captured and tried. In this case, Lu's testimony regarding Nghaia's confession and escape actions would serve as crucial evidence to further clarify the case. The maximum sentence for the charge of assisting a criminal, which Lu faces, could reach 10 years in prison under Hong Kong law. As for Nguyen Minh Nghia, if captured, he would certainly face prosecution for murder. Hong Kong currently does not apply the death penalty, but it is entirely possible that he could face mandatory life imprisonment. However, it should be noted that if Nghia fled to Vietnam and was apprehended there, the trial process would become more complicated, as Hong Kong and Vietnam do not have an extradition treaty. In that scenario, if Vietnamese authorities captured Nghia, he would first face punishment for the crime he committed 5 years ago in Vietnam. From Hong Kong's side, they could file extradition requests or pursue trial in absentia. However, given the gravity of the case, it is likely that both sides would seek legal cooperation to ensure Nia cannot escape justice. The reassuring fact is that, regardless of the scenario, the future of this murderer will only be behind prison bars. And in the final moments of this video, let's take one more close look at the portrait of the killer Nguyen Minh Gia, so you are ready to recognize him if he appears in society. Your alertness and vigilance could be invaluable to both Vietnam and Hong Kong authorities. Also, what are your thoughts or concerns about this case? Share your opinions in the comments section below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss other thrilling stories. For now, we'll see you in the next videos.